All right, talking about the obesity epidemic in the United States. Hopefully, you had a chance to look at the obesity map and and hopefully it scared you a little bit for where we're at. Now it's kind of like, why is this happening, right? I mean, we're the same people. The genetics are basically the same, like they're passed down from generation to generation. What's happening? Obviously, the boom in technology, more sedentary lifestyles, like all these things are kind of prevalent, right? But there was studies that started back in like the 80s, right? And they started looking at like trends of why this obesity epidemic like started to occur. And it really comes up with like there was this slogan, right? Genes, gluttony, or sloth, right? So when we're talking about genes, it's talking about your genetics passed down from generation to generation. Gluttony just has to do with the amount of food you're eating. So gluttony is probably what we tend to do during the holidays, right? We eat a ton. And then sloth is just like a sedentary lifestyle, right? So which one of these things, or how are they all related to the obesity epidemic, right? So first thing I want to look at is like your genetics and kind of what ends up, how this works. So they did this study. It involved the Pima Indians, and it saw that like their obesity rates, right, and the amount of body fat they had like skyrocketed, over the course of a couple generations, right? And so what happened with the Pima Indians, they live out in the desert. They're primarily farmers, right? So lack of water, this, that, and the other, right? So they've adapted, and their bodies have learned to store fat extremely well, right? Because they have long durations or long periods of time of famine or not eating a lot. So they need to be able to like continuously power their body, right? And so what they found is like now is like technology has started to move into like where they live, and they have access to fast food and grocery stores and tech and all that kind of stuff that those people in particular have had astronomical rises in their obesity rates, like way more than everybody else, in terms of like the amount of fat stored or how obese they have become over like a designated period of time. They also did, as a follow-up to that study, they found like really like close genetic relatives and people that were down in South America, and they were still living like a very like rural lifestyle, like farming by themselves. And what they found is that those people still had very good body compositions, even though they do store fat particularly well, right? And so that just comes down to, right, like genetics play a big role in terms of like how much fat you store, but it also comes into like the environment, right? Gluttony, like how much you eat, and certainly it has a factor, but it has less to do with the obesity epidemic than the other two areas. And then sloth, of course, just like people living like that sedentary lifestyles, technology has made everything easier. Like we don't have to walk to the grocery store. You can have it delivered. Like you're on your computer as opposed to doing manual labor. Like it's just made it a lot easier for people to do less, eat more, and then have a genetic predisposition to being like storing fat and whatnot, right? So genes certainly play a huge role. The sedentary lifestyle, huge role. Gluttony, that's just more like, hey, food choices and not having poor food choices and eating a ton of it every day.